Hello, everyone, and welcome to another mainstream episode. Uh, Today we have a totally different setup. We're all live from Japan, actually. Not just Dan being live from Japan, but Dan is not here with us today. But we also have Sam Lambert with us, the co-founder of Zengate. And we also have Sierra-san from Socious. Super excited to have this conversation today. I will pass the mic to Sam so he can do a super quick introduction. And then we're going to start things off.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chef. Yes, my name's Sam, one of the co-founders of Zengate Global. I'm really excited today. I've known Sierra-san's a good friend and partner of mine and known him for a few years, collaborating together in the Cardano ecosystem and the broader blockchain ecosystems, and really excited to get him on the podcast and learn all about the stuff that he's been working on. But before we jump in, Sierra-san has an extremely interesting background, having spent some time, a couple years overseas, studying, working, a successful and serial entrepreneur with a successful exit already, working on another venture. Sierra Yun is the founder and CEO of Socious, a social impact-focused, decentralized talent platform, and has been featured in some of the top sites from Japan Times, the Nikkei, supported by the Japanese Financial Service Agency when he went and represented Japan at a fintech summit out of the UK, and has collaborated with some of the biggest names out there from Lime, Beam, 500, and Deloitte. So welcome, Sierra Yun. It's great to have you, and really excited to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Chef, and thank you, Sam, for this opportunity.
Yeah, so I think just jumping right in, Sierra-san, just tell us a bit about the background and, how what were you doing before Socious, and what got you on the path of social impact and having a focus around that for your career?
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Sarah. I'm the founder of Socious, and my career started with the impact sector. So I started my career with the UNHCR, so the UN's refugee agency. And then, so I was posted in Lebanon, and then I moved to the ICRC, the International Committee of the Red Cross, working in Algeria, Iraq, and Bangladesh. So my background is in law. So I studied international law. So that was my previous life. And so I was using international law in both organizations, the UN and the Red Cross. So that was very exciting, and I really loved my job at these organizations, and I loved my colleagues. I learned so many things from my colleagues, and I had a chance to move back to Japan in 2018. So that's when I moved back to Japan. Several reasons. So I realized that international organizations like nonprofit sector is not the only solution. It's one solution, but it's not the only solution. And there are some mismatches between the problem and the solution. So sometimes, because these nonprofit organizations are focused on donation as a source of funding, so that poses a few different problems, such as dependency on donors, right? So like when we had some great projects that got discontinued, not because there were no more needs on the ground, but because the donors just moved on. There was another war happening in the other side of the world, and then they just wanted to focus on that. So it's quite political, and it was not based on the needs on the ground. So I felt that this is not the only way to solve this. And also, people living in these countries, they they want to work hard, they want to study hard, but because there are international aid coming in from outside, and that gives them disincentives to work hard and study hard. So that provides these perverse incentives, and that kind of also didn't click with me. And I thought, there's a better way to do it. So that's why I went back to school. I studied social innovation, specifically social enterprise and impact startups. So, okay, so maybe if we are not dependent on donations and we can just generate our own revenue and still create an impact, social and environmental impact, and that could actually accelerate this social and environmental change. So that's why I came back to Japan, and I started my first social enterprise. So it's a small uh, social business that basically helped refugees and migrants get decent jobs in marketing and in business. So that's um, what we are doing, and especially like we were collaborating with municipalities in the countryside. So the problem they were trying to solve is that there is a massive depopulation problem they're facing. All the young people want to move to Tokyo, but and the supermarkets are closing, and all the hospitals, schools are closing down, and the only way for many of these communities to survive is to attract foreign tourists. But on the ground, they didn't have anyone who spoke English, so like they were looking to hire migrants or people who spoke English. And these refugees and migrants, they happened to be in Tokyo, but they were just happy to go to the countryside, and they were actually happier in the countryside to just be in a safe place and have these tight knit communities around them. So there was a good match. So like we were matching these refugees and migrants with rural communities in Japan, and at the time, tourism, inbound tourism was booming. Still today, it's booming, right? So it was a great match, and we expanded very quickly. And then we had another problem, which was hiring these coordinators. So like we were looking for like bilingual talent who could bridge between these foreign talent with the local community. That's a very important role, but that was a tough um, tough position to fill, tough role to really find mission fit, culture fit, skill fit talent, especially because we are um, social and environmental focused startup. We wanted to find that mission aligned people who wanted to, who are passionate about our mission and culturally aligned, and also have the skills. And I was using other, platforms like LinkedIn and other platforms, but these platforms were not catered to social startups, impact startups, or social enterprises, and because of that mission fit, culture fit element. And we were trying to solve this, and so Socious actually started as just a small project to solve our own problem, to find mission aligned, culture aligned talent, and then it got much bigger. So it started with one department of my previous company, and then it got much bigger. And because I was in this circle of impact entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, and they also face similar problems of hiring mission aligned, culture aligned talent. And then it just got much bigger. And then, so that's when I realized that we couldn't keep two companies at the same time. So I exited my first company and focusing 100% on Socious.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear, and it's quite interesting how different different people deal with different requirements, right? Like, just focusing on the refugee piece, like I'm from Australia originally, and 80% of our population lives on the coasts, which leaves a lot of different towns, with potential sort of population issues and staffing issues, and it's quite normal to see a mismatch in terms of the demand and supply of labor effectively. And it makes sense, right? Because the cities start to pay more money. Typically, you have much better opportunities, and having moved to Japan, for the last 2 and a bit years, I've noticed the same thing as well. Like I live in Osaka right now, and Sierra-san, you obviously live in Tokyo, and I see you up there from time to time. But most of the population is concentrated in those cities, and
Yeah.
it's a big problem, right? You hear about Italy from time to time giving away houses for free to foreigners and thinking about different policies. And Japan is almost the same thing. There's something called an Akia Bank, which is effectively
Yeah.
these websites where they list abandoned houses for people to buy. And this is not just for Japanese people to buy, but the laws in Japan are actually quite suitable, which allows foreigners to buy it as well. So you have different services like this, and it's great to see that instead of having to just rely on policymakers to come up with different ways to ensure that these towns continue to keep their character and their legacy, and accommodate for the people that are currently living there, which in place like Australia they do. Like when people come in as migrants, sometimes they're actually required to stay in certain towns which are not as
Hmm.
populated, to ensure that there's a bit of a better match in terms of labor requirements and people actually there. So it's awesome to see that you don't have to rely on the government to make sure that these policies right. Like, obviously we expect comes to play a role, and they will do their part. But awesome to hear that you were able to find a great business model which was socially impact focused and provided opportunity inclusion ultimately to these people who had just moved countries, and were starting anew. And one of the great things I've noticed as well is people who migrate to Japan, they can't just rely on English or their native tongue, right? It's great to see, because a lot of people do move here and they make an effort to learn the language, and it sort of ushers a much more multicultural society, I think. And I keep referencing Australia, which in my opinion is one of the most multicultural countries in the world, and it's really benefited the way our society has been run. And it's good to see that there's a bit more multiculturalism and sort of new faces in some of these towns. Um, One thing I just want to just pivot into is Socious, right? This is something that you're spending a lot of time on, but something else I've noticed as well is you're a bit of a thought leader and a big uh, a big collaborator in the Cardano ecosystem in Japan as well. You're behind some of the biggest side events that get run, different workshops, working groups, very regularly hosting people who are coming from other countries as well, who are part of the ecosystem. Um, Tell us a bit about Socious. Like, what is it that you're actually doing, and what's the Web3 and the blockchain element as well? Because when you go on your website, it's not always obvious that this is a decentralized platform, or at least moving towards that, and uses a lot of tooling from the Web3 and the blockchain space. And I'd just love for you to, maybe start high level in terms of what you're actually doing, and then why Cardano as well, but also why does blockchain play an important role in all of this?
Yeah, very good question. I get asked that question all the time. But so obviously, like I started with international law and humanitarian sector and sector, but also blockchain, AI, all the technologies. But um, I realized that there were certain problems that that can be solved with these technologies. So we are leveraging, especially Web3 the blockchain technology and AI is very okay in communities and making sure that some of the, for example, certificates are authentic, or we can prevent greenwashing or impact washing with using blockchain technology, and making sure that, so we're using escrow smart contracts. So without having a third party like escrow agency, we can have smart contracts do that. So we can automate many things without having too much trust between two parties. So yeah, so that's why, because we didn't come from the blockchain or tech industry, but we came from the impact industry, and we thought that blockchain and AI are useful to solve these problems, and that's why we chose to use these tools. And obviously, like if there are new tools that come along in the future, we will use them. But for now, we are using this blockchain AI because they're extremely useful to solve the problems we're trying to solve, right? So why Cardano? So because we are focused on social and environmental impact, and so we wanted to work with the community that's aligned with that social impact and environmental impact mindset. And so I looked at all different options. So obviously I did my due diligence. I looked at Ethereum, looked at Cosmos, Polkadot, etc. Like basically all the blockchain ecosystems, and I tried to play with it, and I stumbled upon Charles Hoskinson's TED Talk, and he talked about banking the unbanked and using technology, blockchain technology, to do good in the world. And that really resonated with me. And then, I got more into the Cardano ecosystem, and then I met people like Sam and Dan, and other people who are actually really smart people, wonderful human beings trying to do good in the world using this technology. And there are many community members who are genuinely passionate about using this technology to do good, right? So it's not like some other communities. I'm not going to diss any communities, but I've seen just some people who are just interested in money and just playing with some JPEGs and NFTs, etc. But Cardano is very different when it comes to the community members who are building on Cardano. They are really serious about using the technology to do good and especially solve real world problems. So that's why I chose Cardano. Yeah, so the community first, and obviously the community members are gathered with the vision that Charles Hoskinson you know explained in his TED talk.
It's actually it's very interesting to me, Socious and your background as well, Sierra. Like I was actually blown away, with your experience and everything that you've done throughout your life, because that really shows that the mission that you've been trying to go for. It's not something that has big words and empty promises and whatnot. There's actually a lot of foundation. You've experienced a lot of things. You've worked in different places, different regions. You've worked with refugees, and more than anything, you've talked about impact. That, to your point, because as soon as you said Charles Hoskinson video, the TEDx, right? Because that was actually how I got into this, into the ecosystem. Because the TEDx, a lot of people are talking about the whiteboard video, but the TEDx in Bermuda was the one, that really talks about what I like to call it the 2017 Cardano vision, right? And I think it's quite important to your point again, like you talked about the community, and we have all those amazing, projects and organizations, from like the Very Tree, for example, that we've had, I think it was one of the very first, big, more into the eco-friendly and sustainable project. And now we have all these amazing projects like Socious that are doing building amazing platforms and tools with this technology for a good impact, right? But I was very interested when Sam mentioned earlier, and I noticed that on the website, is that there is not too much, blockchain words in there, if you will, or a lot of like difficult if you will, terminology in there. Do you mind explaining, like, giving us a little bit of the thought process behind this? And how is it when you talk to people outside of the, Web3 ecosystem, when you talk to them about Socios, do you bring the, any blockchain terms, up on the conversation, or is it not needed in the end of the day?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So like at the end of the day, like we want to solve their problems that they're facing, right? And as long as that problem gets solved, our users, our customers, um, probably don't care if it's using the blockchain technology behind the scene. So we explain it as far as it's necessary to explain all the concepts so that they know that it's secure, they know that it's immutable, and those things we explain it. But I think the first thing is that they are facing some challenges, some problems, and they want to solve them. Socius as a platform, we help them solve those problems, and sometimes we use AI to do that. Sometimes we use Cardano's blockchain technology to do that. So yeah, so that's how I see it, how we actually designed our website as well.
Yeah, and just sort of going off that while we're on the website as well, there's obviously a big focus around this business around social impact, right? And definitely from a generational point of view, as someone a little bit younger than you guys, looking at what my peers have been up to and friends and so former colleagues, it seems like people care more about impact or doing something that they can really get behind than opposed to just getting paid, clocking in, clocking out. And maybe something that was sort of more acceptable before. And like even speaking to older friends or my dad, and my mum as well, who are still working quite hard. The complaints come up from time to time about people my age, that they work with about like the attitude's a bit off, or they need more about they need more than just money. They need to actually get behind stuff. And I'm just curious as well, like 100,000 plus jobs on offer that you've sort of worked through on this platform. You're dealing with like lots and lots of real world businesses out there. I know the platform itself connects impact focused people with impact opportunities, and I think that's something really important just to highlight. But how much of this is a change in the ways of working that we're seeing? And is this a big driver, do you think, going so in the future? Like what is this one of the big mega themes that we think we'll see in the labor markets going forward? And what does sort of data suggest as well, based on what you see in your own business, but maybe others that are working on similar problems, both in the public and the sort of private sector space?
Yeah, very very good question. So I think Sam was right on the trend that has come up recently. As opposed to like our parents' generation, millennials, Gen Zers, they are more interested in social impact, environmental impact. So that manifests in different ways. So and mostly like in employment, consumer behaviors, and also investment, right? So like maybe like 50 years ago, we didn't really talk about impact investment, but now it's more than like $1 billion industry. Like it's a huge industry that I think it's $1 trillion industry. So it's a trend that investors already like in the past they're always about making money and the profitability of the businesses, but they also care about ESG and how does that capital making an impact and reducing the damage to the environment and the people, right? So that's a trend, and also consumerism. So now we talk about socially conscious consumer. So socials actually comes from socially conscious, and these are socially conscious consumers or ethical consumers. We didn't have that concept maybe 50 years ago. Now people buy, if there are like two options, they many people actually choose environmentally friendly or more ethically sourced products rather than just traditional products that contribute to the degradation of the environment. And so that is another trend in happening in the consumer sector, and also employment and job seekers. Job seekers, as Sam mentioned, they they just don't want to get this 9 to 5 job that pays the bill, but they want to have more meaning in their job. At the end of the day, like you will be spending a lot of time, maybe like 70% of your life spent at work. And if you are working in a job that is not satisfying, not meaningful, then it's really stressful, and it's degrading their dignity. So people are looking for meaningful job, more impactful, that they want to feel like they're making a difference in the world, and that's why we have quite a lot of people come into the Socious platform looking for impact jobs. However, so there are some statistics that 94% of young people, like millennials or Gen Zers, they want to use their skills for social and environmental impact, but only 10% are able to do so. So
Mm.
there are many barriers to do that. So that's why our mission is to give everyone the chance to make a difference. So we want to unlock the remaining 84% of people who want to but they can't. It's a dormant resources that we can unlock, and that could accelerate social and environmental impact, and that could have a huge impact in the world.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. And yeah, even just anecdotally based on the conversations you have with friends, right? Not just in Japan, but all over around the world. I think there's sort of a big dissatisfaction in general, I think, across some of these younger generations around work and sort of their role in the labor markets. And that's really exciting. And, as you were talking, it sort of just reminded me of something that one of my mentors used to say. I was very fortunate to be able to study under, incredible economist in Australia called Bob Gregory. And I, used to take me out for coffee and talk about economics. And um, he once told, he was an academic, but had sort of spent a fair bit of time in, working for the central bank. It's called the Reserve Bank of Australia, as a board member, but was really a teacher as well as a researcher. And I remember him saying, if not just once, but a few times, he said, what I do is not a job, it's a lifestyle. And I was a young guy back then, like younger than I am. Obviously, I'm still young, but much younger back then. And I remember him saying that, and it was just I don't know, it sort of really hit home. You don't just you don't spend all this time just working and stuff. We're obviously founders and co-founders of a business, so maybe it's a bit skewed, but that was something that definitely hit home. And I'm not the only one either, right? Like you don't have to go and start a company to feel some sense of satisfaction in the world, but
Exactly.
it's people are sort of yearning that, I think. So yeah, I agree. Like from a mega trends perspective for labor markets, definitely I think there's a huge mismatch in this stuff, and you don't have to be a genius to observe it. A lot of people are unhappy with the way things are, and like you said, if you're spending all this time working, it becomes more and more obvious, right? The other thing, one of the big sort of similarities across the work we do is like these sort of themes you talked about. On the Zengate side, we're building Palmyra, and we work very deeply in commodity markets all around the world, and a big focus on emerging markets in many of the countries that you mentioned. Similar, we spent some time in people on the ground, and one of the big things that we've come across is there's a huge amount of distrust in these markets. And whether it's problems around counterfeiting, whether it's problems around authenticity, or just things in general, which increase the counterparty risks associated to buyers being able to safely transact and connect with primary producers around the world. These are big problems. And for us, I think it's actually much more similar in terms of the problems we're trying to solve in commodities, and also in the sort of labor markets that you're so focused on. And for us, we've implemented a lot of different types of solutions that basically bring that risk down, from things like escrow payments as well on our end, cross-border transactions. We have a traceability module, which we've open sourced, called the Winter Protocol as well, which is focused from a compliance point of view, but a transparency point of view as well. Really, at the end of the day, it's to be ensuring that, if buyers are trying to source authentic, traceable products, then are they able to? And the job market is no different as well, from what I understand. And people have hits, they have misses when they're hiring people. And some of it is a cultural mismatch, a skill mismatch. I'm just curious, right? Like, when it comes to things like verifying skill sets, when it's about verifying past work experience, referrals, and culture fit, like how is blockchain playing a role here? Because I've signed up on your website before. I've seen the amount of development. For us, we were quite interested in being able to source some development talent, but it's not just development talent on your platform. It's developers, it's product managers, it's marketing, sales people. It's quite a big range of people. But I'm just quite curious, like from a blockchain point of view, like how is this stuff done? Because I couldn't tell there was no blockchain stuff. I didn't have to sign up and connect my wallet. Didn't have to sign a transaction. It all seems like it's running under the hood. And I know you do a lot of open source tooling work as well. So how's this stuff actually being implemented behind the scenes? And tell us a bit about the impact it can have when you're able to show these things transparently.
Yeah, very, very good question. So this is statistic coming from the US in 2022. So they did a survey, and 55% of people, respondents, said that they have lied on their CVs. Right, so it's a lot of people lying on their CVs, and what happens is that on the receiving side, so like hiring companies, they need to conduct background checks. And if you're small, like small startups, like small businesses, probably you don't have that capacity. Then what you do is like you need to take a guess, take that risk, right, and hire people without running background checks. And large companies, they do actually run background checks. I actually work for the UN, the Red Cross. They do background checks for every single employee, and I had to submit all the certificates. It was a painful process, but I think it's necessary. And because these certificates can be faked easily, PDF documents, if you just go to Photoshop, you can actually make very similar, or like basically the same document in PDF, right? So easy to fake and very difficult to detect the authenticity of certificates. So what we are using is called a Prism. So it's Cardano's self-sovereign identity technology. Some people call it the decentralized ID technology as well. So basically, we use this technology to issue certificates on the blockchain. So for example, educational certificates, your university diploma or work certificates, the fact that you work for well-known companies that could get you a new job, that, actually, many people fake that they work for Google to get an engineering job, right? So that will be that problem can be solved very easily with this blockchain technology, because once you issue certificates on the blockchain using this SSI technology, then verifier, so hiring company, they can just verify it on chain, so that they don't need to go through these background checks, but they can just verify using their identity wallet, and just scan the QR code and then verify that this person was issued this certificate on this date, and it's immutable information that you can verify on chain. So that's something we are doing. So we are basically trying to eliminate the process of background checks using the blockchain technology. And this has actually a great impact, especially for the developing world. So as I mentioned, a lot of like trust issues, fake certificates happen all the time in, yeah, let's just say it. So like in Africa, the Middle East, South America, Southeast Asia, like these places suffer from these fake certificate issues. And what happens is that when they apply to companies in the West or Japan, Australia, and once these hiring companies look at these two candidates, one coming from, like, let's say like we're in Japan, one coming from Japan, and we know that, okay, that university, and one coming from Ethiopia. This is, I don't know this university, I don't even know this certificate is real or not. And then it just gives this bias towards that Japanese candidate, and they are likely to hire that Japanese candidate, although this candidate from Ethiopia might be better suited for the job. But if we can actually eliminate the background checks and facilitate that process, then they have an equal chance of getting the job, and we're trying to level the playing field in that aspect. So yeah, that's um, one of the reasons why we use Cardano's Prism technology.
This is very, very exciting. Sierra, would it be okay if I were to ask you like a follow-up question to what you just mentioned? Because you mentioned like obviously, the SSI and the QR codes. How would that look like if you were to walk us through, somebody just signs up on the platform and would like, to upload their certificate and just, create their profile and, make it, if you will, like, at the high level overview, without really getting into the details of it, what would that process look like? So, people that are listening in right now can really paint that picture a little bit better in their head in terms of what's the process of, signing up, getting on boarded on the platform.
Yeah, very good question. So yeah, I can walk you through. So first, the user signs up and fills out their profile. So I guess like filling out the profile can be quite similar to LinkedIn. So like you have education section, you have work history section. And in addition to that, we have a culture section and preference section, and also social causes that they're interested in, so that we have some mission fit, culture fit elements. But for this purpose, we have work history and educational history, right? And let's say like you studied at the University of New South Wales, right? It's a great university, and you want to get a certificate from that university. So you insert that information that you studied from this date to this date, and then this is a bachelor in economics, etc. And you send a request. So if they're already on the Socious platform, the university, then it just sends the request directly to the university, and then basically university verifies the request and see if just see the record, and if it's correct, then accept, and then that certificate is sent to Sam, for example. And then what Sam needs to do is that you click on claim certificate, and that's when you use our Socious wallet. So it's an SSI identity wallet, and you basically receive this work certificate or educational certificate as a verifiable credential on your wallet, and that's it. So when you want to apply, you just show that QR code or show your Socious URL, then people can verify that you actually studied at the University of New South Wales.
Yeah, that's excellent. And it's funny you say that because yeah, I didn't go to UNSW, but I went to the Australian National University. But my dad actually graduated with an economics degree from that university, and my mom was studied in Japan, but ended up doing a Juris Doctor degree out of UNSW as well. So
Oh
yeah,
wow.
just a little plug, but which I'm very proud of them, obviously. But yeah, so yeah, we've been actually looking quite a lot into Atala Prism and the role that verifiable credentials can play as well, in a bit of a different angle, more focused on the grading side and ensuring that commodities are being graded properly. But one thing I want to actually just pivot completely back to is, something like this actually removes the need for hiring managers to go through quite a tedious uh, process to actually verify everything, right? Like I remember I worked for quite a large consulting company, and they did big background checks on me, police checks, uploading of bachelor's degrees, different certificates, passports. Um, at least that's what I remember. But like, how big of an industry is this? Because it's, you're building a lot of this stuff on Cardano tooling. You obviously have the AI sort of role, and so your interface is incredibly easy to use from my own personal experience signing up to the platform. But like, what's the market opportunity look like? Because it's, yeah, your project at times I think flies under the radar in terms of the impact that it can potentially have, and the amount of mass adoption it can have as well, in terms of enabling people to have a much more seamless process of connecting with people.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So obviously, background checks is very expensive, time consuming. It's a $12 billion industry, and this SSI and using blockchain technology to, I guess, facilitate that process will help a lot of companies save a lot of money.
Yeah, and the other thing as well I'm interested in is, you obviously integrated verifiable credentials as a way of ensuring that, if someone actually graduates from a certain university or an institution, it's available. But like, what are your thoughts on zero knowledge proofs and the role ZKs could play as well in the future? Obviously, a lot of this stuff would happen under the hood, but um, is there something like that on your roadmap that you're interested in down the line? Definitely something we've thought about on the commodities space, at least.
Yeah, very very good question. So we actually get requested a lot about using basically like our technology to kind of help their companies, you know help them solve their problems. So for example, uh, in Japan there is regulation that requires cigarette selling companies to verify the identity or the age of the buyers, right? And imagine like this company is selling these cigarettes online. So today, what the law says and requires is that these buyers, they need to scan their passport or driver's license. And so it needs to have two things. So one is your date of birth. Second is your address. And you scan it, send it, and then that scan is saved in the server of the database of the small company that's selling cigarettes, right? And then the cigarette company can send cigarettes to that person, to that address that's on the certificate. And the risk is that, you can imagine these small cigarette selling companies, then, maybe they don't have the best cybersecurity mechanism protections, and, their database gets hacked. And the worst case scenario is that these, customers' data is leaked, and they could be used for different purposes, like withdrawing their using their credit card, or they're withdrawing their bank accounts, etc., by using their basically their identity documents like driver's license, passport, etc. So it's very risky. So what we can solve with zero knowledge proofs is that actually you don't need to share all the information, because all they need is that you need to know whether you are 20 years of age or older. That's it. And maybe the address, right? So with a Tyler Prism, with self-sovereign identity solution, you can just give a Boolean, yes or no, that this person is 20 years old or no, right? Not even your date of birth, not exact your date of birth. It's just the yes or no question: is this person 20 years or older? And also, the address to send the the products to. And so what it does is that, and the company doesn't need to hold that information in the database, right? So even if that company's database gets hacked, your identity is still secure. And whenever you want to buy cigarettes, you just use your self-sovereign identity wallet. So you own your data, you own your personal information without giving away all the unnecessary information for them. So this will help many customers, but also the companies are trying to sell alcohol, cigarettes, etc., that they're required to do age checks, age verification. So we get asked things like that, and we are actually planning to develop a no-code tool so that these small businesses, they don't have the capacity to actually integrate SSI directly into their platform, but using our platform, they can, they don't need to know any like coding skills, but they can just integrate our platform. It's kind of like Stripe for SSI. So it's like you get snippets, you can copy paste to their website, and they can use this age verification on their website off the box. So that's our plan. It's going to take some time, but yeah, we're working hard to achieve that.
And a lot of this all powered by Cardano technology as well. And of course, I'm sure there's other sort of tooling out there, not just a Tyler, that might be useful to make all of this possible. But that's incredible. And yeah, for those watching, like please please make sure you head over to Socious, have a look at the website, have a look at their X accounts, and so the big impact that they've been having. You're mentioning, there's some of the stuff around Japan, like, with Theo around recently in our office, we've been having some intensive workshops. It can be quite stressful. And, you go to the 7-Elevens just outside the 7-Eleven and other convenience stores just outside the office, and they've got very loose policies around buying alcohol, around buying cigarettes, compared to many countries. When you're buying alcohol or cigarettes, something just pops up on the screen and just says, "Are you over 20?" It's like, yeah, sure. Obviously, yeah, but it's just it's so loose. Like, there's no sort of real check in place, and not just the alcohol or the cigarette industry showing interest in the tooling that you've brought, but job search is a lot of really sensitive information that you're uploading, and there've been times where people just say, "Hey, like, send over a PDF scan of your passport," and you're like, "What?" Japan's even worse in the sense that you might go to a hotel, especially if you're a foreigner staying as a tourist. They will ask to scan your passport as well. They want a scan of your passport and say, who knows what they're actually doing with these documents. And it's great to see that tooling such as Vitala, which is now open source, of course, and it's under the Hyperledger Foundation sort of system as well. And to be able to actually do this stuff in a way that is not only reducing the risk on the person applying to the job, but just makes the whole experience faster and cheaper as well at the end of the day, right? And when you talk about this being a $17 billion industry, I imagine you're talking about per year, right? Because the actual enterprise value of the businesses that run these checks is significantly more, multiples more in terms of value. So it's not just a $17 billion industry you're disrupting, it's a much larger industry. And it's great to see that there's applications across sectors as well around the tools that you've built. Yeah, Chef, I'll hand over to you. I know you had a question.
Yes, I do. I have a couple, but I'll try to keep it short, because especially now that I'm here, breathing the same air as Sierra and Sam. I'm really interested into the community side of things as well, right? Because I think this is another important part of what you're doing. Obviously, Sam mentioned that earlier at the beginning of the podcast, but I think it's quite important for us to get a little bit more information around this. I know that you obviously do quite a few meetups that either are Cardano based or maybe they're not, because not everything has to be around blockchain and whatnot, but obviously most of it is Cardano focused and whatnot. In Japan there is a huge Japanese community. I like to call them OGs. But it's an amazing community. Like, I'm amazed with how people are here and how welcoming. So I just want to get your thoughts and maybe get some more information for the audience around the impact of what you're doing offline, if you will. And I know Sam doesn't really like that phrase, if you will. So I'll say in real life, in person. What is the impact in person that you also do? Because I know this is another big part of, and it takes up quite a few of your time as well.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So just for context, so I'm involved with quite different communities at the moment. So obviously the Cardano community takes up a lot of my time, but also SingularityNet community. So SingularityNet is decentralized AI project. So they are also using Cardano as their base layer, and so it's an AI project. So we collaborate with them, and it's a great project, a great community, very purpose driven as well. And obviously, I'm involved with different, I guess, non-technology related communities as well. So I'm on the board of a nonprofit in Japan called TEL, and it's a suicide prevention call center, and they do different things, but mental health related nonprofit in Japan. And yeah, so different communities. And yeah, so I just get involved with all the missions. If the missions align, and if I have enough time, then I try to get involved and contribute as much as I can. So in terms of real life events and real life community building, so Sam and I, so Sam, Dan, and the Zengate team, and Socious and Utah is another Cardano ambassador based in Japan. We are hosting quite a few events. We just had one in April, and mostly like the Zengate team is leading the event in July in Kyoto, Osaka area. And so Socious is also organizing another big event in September that will feature obviously Cardano, but Singularity Net. So it's called Tech for Impact Summit. We are trying to bring about 800 people, impact entrepreneurs or blockchain or people who want to use blockchain and AI for social and environmental good. They will come to our event. Investors and government officials and regulators. So we're trying to bring all these leading minds in the industry to accelerate social and environmental change by collaboration. And basically, like we have two specific goals. One is trying to match impact investors with impact startups so that they have a good match, and then they can accelerate their impact, and trying to match also purpose-driven talent with impact startups and impact organizations so that they can also accelerate social and environmental impact. So what we do at Socious is making connections and making these matches to accelerate social and environmental impact. But that could happen online or offline, in real life or virtual life. So that's what we try to do. So for us, it's an extension of the app and the platform, and it's as important as online connections, but offline connections. And we believe that this hybrid model, online, offline hybrid model is the best way to build a sense of community. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, and all powered, not all, I guess, but a lot of it powered by Catalyst as well, the Cardano treasury. So extremely grateful. One last thing, maybe just at least from a question from my side to wrap things up, is the best hires I've ever had in the company has been, quite organically generated at times. Friends connecting me with other people, colleagues connecting me with their contacts, and one of the great things, it really lets you vet the cultural fit sort of question that you have, and the trust questions that you have. And one of the things that might actually be a good sort of filter for this stuff is our community, and the sort of broader ecosystem that we're building within Cardano and Ergo and some of these other UTXO focused chains. Our communities are real trailblazers in the impact space and opportunity inclusion, empowering opportunity inclusion, empowering access, and the support that we get is incredible. And they care about these things. They care about these real world problems out there. They care about making an impact. I just want to ask, how do they get involved? What's the role of the community? Like, obviously, there's people that can come sign up on your platform who are looking for jobs that have purpose, or purpose-driven sort of opportunities for them. But what about others that can refer businesses towards you, refer contacts, talent towards you? Because, at the end of the day, not just the Palmyra community and and the Zengate community, but the broader sort of Cardano, the Ergo, the Singularity Net community, there's an incredible amount of talent. But really, at the end of the day, there's an incredible amount of people that work in organizations all around the world. And I've met people from the top banks, top insurance companies, governments, startups from different sectors, from really, it's just incredible the scope of work that some of these people have been doing, when you meet them in real life or online. So how can people in our community, Cardano community, play a bigger role in terms of helping Socious make an even bigger impact than you're having today? Like, how can we grow that pool? How can we ensure that instead of 10% of people finding impact-driven jobs, we push the needle forward? We go to 15 to 20 to 30. And how can it all start within our ecosystem, an already collaborative ecosystem that cares about these things, where culture fit can get filtered down? So yeah, I'm very interested, like where can this sort of leverage come from, and what sort of solutions have you been thinking about? And if some of these things exist, like how can they get in contact with you? How can they get started? And how can they ultimately ensure that their friends and their contacts get to benefit from the solution that you've been able to provide?
Yeah, very excellent question. So, as Sam mentioned, the best candidates usually come through referrals. Like, it's because of this mission fit element, cultural fit element. But really, the best candidates, the most suitable candidates, really come through referrals, and we know that, and that's why we've implemented this feature called decentralized referral system. So even if you are not looking for jobs at the moment, or you're not hiring people, but if you have any friends or contacts who might be looking for jobs or who might be hiring, you can refer them using Socious. So like, you get a referral code, your own code, and you share that with your friends, your contacts. And if they hire or if they get hired, you get also some incentives as well. You get basically a kickbacks from our commission fees. So this is one way for us to reduce the fees. So our fees are very competitive, very one of the cheapest, in the one of the most competitive rates in the industry. It's because we use this referral system so that we don't need to hire lots of recruiters or people doing the matching. So we have a very low overhead, and also we automate a lot of things with the help of AI. So yeah, referral is a big thing, and one thing is that we also use a Taliprism and SSI system to combat referral fraud. So one of the issues in the referral systems is that oftentimes there are ways to game the system. So if you use email-based referral system, you can create multiple email accounts by yourself and get referral bonuses, by referring yourself 10 times, right? And one way to prevent that is using SSI. So making sure that there's an identity behind that account. So with that, we're actually using zero knowledge proof. So we're not asking for their passport or anything. We just asking for the proof that this is an identity and this is not a duplicate. So that's the only thing we're asking when they verify their account. So that we can combat this referral fraud and self referral problem. And also we are automating the distribution of referral bonuses with smart contracts. So everything is automated. So it's very difficult. It's almost impossible to game the system and get referral bonuses and withdraw the funds from our treasury, right? So that is something that I would recommend everyone, all the listeners, to do. So even if you don't, if you're not looking for jobs, maybe you have friends who might be looking for jobs, and you can refer them. And for your time and for your connections, you get some rewards for doing good. And also there is a non-financial reward of helping your friends to get a job that, that might be mission fit, culture fit, and that might actually make the world a better place.
Incredible. And yeah, we'll make sure that some of these links are shared in the description of the podcast. And yeah, we'll make sure you go visit that. Sirius-san, is there a place that our community can go visit to learn a bit more about the referral system? Like, whereabouts on your website is it?
Yeah, good question. So go to the website, and then you can go to the blog section, and you will find an article about the referral system. Yeah, so I think that's the best place to learn about it.
Excellent.
And we can also add that specific link to the description as well. So everything hopefully will be, everything will be in one place underneath this video, and hopefully people can be able to get in there, sign up, and start their own journey. I just want to give a small side note, and then Sierra, I'm just gonna pass the mic back to you for some closing thoughts. But I was just we've been talking about the platform and the social impact that it gives, it provides to the users. I was thinking about, so like a couple days before I fly over here, I was still back in Vancouver, Canada, on the West Coast, and they had a big job fair, quite close to the gym that I go and work out, and it was like it blew out my mind as soon as I saw it was a huge lineup of people, like a very big lineup of people waiting just to give their resume, and hopefully they could match and find them an employer and whatnot, and hopefully they can get a job. But the amount of like weight that maybe the last person had to, what I mean, like it was like a very big, maybe like 500-meter, like it was very
Oh,
big,
wow.
like I was blown away. And while now that we're discussing about the platform and how actually the technology that we have, and I'm not talking about you know emerging markets here. I'm not talking about like bringing opportunity inclusion. I'm talking about like developed countries that you would think that there's these systems that people could use, and obviously that's all in our head. But the reality is that there's still, even in the Western world, right, like these developed countries, they still lack of good systems or good platforms like that, with the blockchain technology, with AI, like the way that you painted, quote unquote, painted the picture to us on what Socious is about. I think everybody around the world would benefit from it, and not just the emerging markets. And I really believe that everybody could definitely benefit from it. And the reason that I mention this is because we do have a community, not just in emerging markets. There you have big community in Europe, right, in US, Northern America, and whatnot, where you would believe that maybe this is not really needed. But like I like personal experience of something that I saw that really surprised me, and I just wanted to share it because I really believe that there is a lot of good to do there. And I can only see, you talked about automated systems, about AI, how to do, like, this is amazing. And I can only, like, I'm really looking forward to see how Socious is going to be in a year from now, and in how many different countries you're going to be, and what's the community going to look like, and what are the matching going to look like. It's just so exciting to see Socious growing. I'm very, very, very happy that we got to have this conversation, because I did think that I had an idea about Socious, but you definitely, like, you painted everything into my head about it, and I'm really hoping that the same will happen for the audience that will watch this live stream or will watch it as a recording later on.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. And also, I'm really excited for Zengate and Palmyra, and I know you are growing rapidly, and I've been following you on X, and so yeah, it's very exciting time for both of us, and yeah, and excited for our collaboration as well. We have real life events to co-host in the coming months. So yeah, really excited.
Mr. Sam, any final thoughts, and maybe you can close us up?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Sierra-san. Yeah, thanks for joining. Just you're always impressed in terms of the impact that you're having both within your company, but also as a leader in the community and your involvement in the angel investing space and board and sort of advisory space as well. I sort of never understand how you get stuff done. You're the first to reply to the messages I send out instantly and all over the sort of the stuff that we've been doing together as partners. So yeah, really appreciative of our friendship, but us, the mentorship that you've provided me and so Dan as well along the way. And yeah, really happy. Can't wait to have you back on the show. And thanks again. I know it's quite late for everyone in Japan, but really appreciate you hopping on. And I really hope that those that are listening live and also listening later on have learnt a lot about the impact you're having, and really excited to see this grow more and more and more, over the coming years.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. This is the end of this episode, and we're going to be back next week, next Tuesday, with another fresh episode of The Mainstream. Thank you so much for watching, and Shira-san, thank you so much for joining us today. Take
Thank you
care,
so
everyone.
much. Take
Thank you.
care. Bye.